Hi, everybody. Very happy to be live with Caroline England, who also writes as CE Rose, and you're with us in that disguise today, aren't you? Do you want to tell us a bit
I
about
am.
yourself and your latest book?
Well, that's right. My daughter's been like curling my hair, so this is the C Rose look, so people know the difference. So the book. Well, this is my third CE Rose book. So my first two, I've got them here to show. So my first CE Rose was The House of Hidden Secrets, and then my second CE Rose was The House on the Water's Edge, and then this one, which was out less than 2 weeks ago, I think now, The Shadows of Rutherford House. And you can sort of see by the cover that it's a gothic-y, well, it's a gothic thriller, but it has that darkness to it, and it's set in an old, ancient, crumbling house. So I think they've done really well because the house in the book has these steps going up to it, up to the big house. So I think they've done really well with the cover on that one. And so I'm about to tell you a bit about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, it's one of the stories that has a split timeline. So we've got one character who's starting in the late 50s, and that's Millie. And she is the housemaid who's at the beginning of the book, she's taken on to be housemaid to the new mistress who's just married into the Percy family. So her story goes forward from the late 50s and into the 60s. Then we have the next timeline is in the 80s, and that's from Duncan's point of view. And Duncan is the son of their sort of land. What's it called? What do you call them? Those people who look after the land in a stately home. Can you think? Anyway, whatever you call them, the sort of, it's not a gardener, it's more than a gardener, and I can't think of the word. Anyway,
Groundskeeper. A groundskeeper?
yeah, groundskeeper, that's estate manager.
There
That's
you
the
go.
one. So Duncan is the son of the estate manager on, again, the Rutherford House's estate. And then we have in the modern day, which is in the present day, and we have Christy, who's a psychiatric nurse. And she has a patient called Lillian, and Lillian is from the Rutherford family. And so she's in the day, and she's in a psychiatric unit to begin with, and you discover why. And but Christy befriends her. She finds sort of parallels in their lives in terms of they've both lost a mother. Christy's mother went missing 20 years ago, and she's never heard from her since, and obviously had never had that closure. Whereas Lillian's mother died when she was about 11. But so they have that in common. And so Christy becomes increasingly fascinated by Lillian's life because she lived in this huge pile in Doncaster in Yorkshire, and but she's afraid of going back. She just hates it. She doesn't want to go back. So Christy gets increasingly intrigued. She wants to get to the bottom of what it is about Rutherford House that the locals say is cursed. So that's the mystery. And these three strands, they do come together. I mean, some people struggle a little bit to begin with strands, but other people find them really intriguing. Three different characters, three different timelines. But you know, a lot of people enjoy the beginning because they're adding up. They're thinking, right, where does that slot in? Where's it going? But they do, I assure you, they all come together. And as ever with all my books, there's lots of twists and turns and reveals and shocks. And I'm really glad to say that it's getting some great reviews. And none of the reviewers so far, they've all said the final twist I didn't get. So yay! I mean, I'm sure some people will, but so far so good. So if you like a really good shocker, you know, and obviously a tale because it's a gothic thriller, so it's got that just a hint of supernatural, you know, the hint of you know, the ghostly phantom like old building which is crumbling and dark corners and all that sort of thing as well. So as well as being sort of a psychological thriller. So
It is really properly gothic, isn't it? It feels really.
yeah, well, I think with my C.E. Rose books, because obviously I write as Caroline England as well as C.E. Rose, and we spoke when The Sinner came out in that came out in June this year, my last Caroline England book. And my Caroline England books are very much psychological suspense, psychological thrillers. Thrillers is a loose word, isn't it? But psychological suspense. And but these are more sort of, this one happens to be set in a vicarage, but they're more about recent secrets, if you like, and a more modern setting. And whilst my C.E. Rose books are in the current day, so they're a modern Gothic thriller, they do sort of go a little bit further into the past, and especially this one. And I think that gives it the Gothic feel, as well as the setting, obviously, which is a crumbling old, it was once a huge palatial home, and now sort of hardly anyone lives in it anymore. And, wings have been blocked off because they ran out of money, etc. So it has, some people have said, oh, it's historical fiction. I don't see it like that as well, but I suppose it's the furthest I've gone back. I mean, the 50s isn't that historical, is it? But, yeah, so that gives it, I think, that Gothic hint. Yeah.
I don't think it's like properly historical, but it has that feeling like it could have been written. You could almost feel it being transported back to like a kind of Victorian
Right.
sort of
Yes.
Gothic
Yeah.
era. If
Yeah.
you picked it up and it was like written in that sort of proper era, you'd be like, yeah, this is a really believable
Oh,
example
that's,
of kind of Gothic.
yeah.
And
And there are so many wonderful Gothic thrillers of years gone by, the Brontes, Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, and then, Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca and all that sort of thing. So I think it's got that sort of hint, but it's very modern day as well, isn't it? Because we've got the current timeline in the modern day, and it's very much today type of thing. So,
but
yeah.
even the modern bit kind of fits with the Gothic thriller.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It sort of
hopefully, yeah.
adds to the spookiness, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
The modern
great.
bit.
Yeah. And then
Oh,
in the
it does.
middle, we've got the 80s, stuck in the 80s, young guy at university in the 80s. So, yeah, that sort of, that I guess that was my era as well, sort of, late 80s. So that was probably a bit of a throwback as well for me. So,
A throwback to when you were at university, or you're not old enough
yeah,
to have
yeah.
been at university in the 80s.
Sorry.
You're not old enough to have been at university
I
in
know.
the
Well,
80s.
I'm lying, really. It was my grandma who was in the 80s.
You don't age yourself.
Late 80s.
Like, yeah.
I know,
Um,
I'm getting my calculator out now.
what like when you're doing that, sort of doing the timelines differently, how do you keep them apart? How do you work out making them distinct enough that people can keep them apart?
I don't know, but I think we've said this before, about me, because I'm a pantser and not a plotter. It's all just sort of up here, and I just spin everything in my head. So I don't really know. I also wrote them chapter by chapter of each character. So I didn't write one timeline, then another timeline, then I did each one. I would take it in turns. I mean, they don't all take in turns all the time. But so I'd write a Millie chapter, then I'd write a Duncan chapter, then I'd write a Christie chapter, and then I'd probably go back to Millie again, and then just think, where did I leave Millie's story? But of course, at some point, you have to start merging them a bit. Yeah, so I don't really know. It's just that's why I don't do anything other than sit in here and try and get it all down. Otherwise, I forget it all. So yeah, that's why I don't clean or dust the house or any of those things. Who'd want to?
So I'm at a bit where Millie has appeared in the modern sort of story. So that's where you're sort of talking about the merging. Millie is such a fantastic character.
Yeah, yeah. I do like Millie because she wanted to be she want, because in the modern time, what she's probably late 70s, isn't she? In the modern time, when you think how old she was in 1959, I think she was 16 then. And she wanted to carry on in education, but of course in those days, you didn't always get that opportunity. So she was sort of made to follow her mother's footsteps by working for the Percy family at Rutherford House. And she really doesn't want to do it. And you see from the first chapter, she's like, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm being made to do this. And her mum's the housekeeper at the time. And but then as soon as Vivian arrives, her whole view has changed, because she's absolutely devoted to her mistress Vivian, so that makes her life different. And of course she becomes a keeper of secrets.
She does, and there's like a really she's not afraid of confronting people, is she, about secrets? I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of how to say that without giving away a spoiler.
Yeah, I know. She's a bit of a character. I mean, I'd love to see it dramatized because I'd love to see the casting of that because it's such a good role to get your teeth into. But she has no nonsense, does she? I don't know where you're up to in the story, and it's not giving any spoilers, but she doesn't like Duncan's mother. She considers her a right floozy sort of thing, and she's always putting her in a place and trying to get rid of her and that type of thing. So it's interesting. Yeah, yeah, because she has it's funny, isn't it? Someone described it as a reviewer described it as Downton Abbey meets Psycho. Well, you haven't got to the end yet, but I thought, hey, that's a good one. I like that. I'm going to use that title. So
Uh,
it is a bit, I suppose, Downton Abbey-ish to begin with, isn't it? That yeah.
well, I've never seen Downton Abbey, so I can't say.
Well, it's my hubby. It's really weird that he doesn't like anything like that, but he loves Downton Abbey. So I'm forced.
We've got some hellos. Laura said hello. Leslie has. Daniel McBreakneck has said hi, Kaz. Hi, Caroline.
Hi.
Um,
Hi, Leslie. Ah, and
because
Dan. I
obviously,
saw Dan on Saturday. All happens up here, you know.
yeah, tell us a bit about that event. It looked incredible. There was like an event,
Yeah,
wasn't there, with you and Kate Ellis and Paul.
Paul
Like, what an
Finch.
array of amazing authors.
Yeah, yeah, and who else was it? Roger Price was there, yeah, and Sam Tonge, who writes more women's fiction stuff. But yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. But I think the trouble, it was an event at Lee Library and it was a Christmas book fair, which is great. But I think the lady who organises it, Jenny, who's so lovely, I think she thinks maybe next time she'll split up the children's part of it. Because they had the brownies there singing carols and all that sort of thing. So I think it was a bit more mums and dads and kids oriented than the sort of crime thriller. Because a few girls who are like 11 or 12 kept coming up going, oh, what are the books about? Would I like one? And like, you'd like think, no, well, I mean, when I was that age, I was actually reading stuff like this, I guess, because I used to read James Herbert at that age and all sorts of like, these sort of slightly rude rom-commy type thing, Jackie Collins and all that sort of thing. But I'd have felt mean saying, yeah, buy one of my books. Might not have been the right thing to do. But
No,
it was nice to catch up with the other authors and nice to see Dan as well.
yeah, the photos in the group looked incredible.
Yeah, yeah, they were good. It was nice there. It's nice seeing. It's always good to see, and it's nice when it's like when there was the event Dan did where we were at. It's nice. You just get to know people better every time you see them, don't you? And it's so nice to see you and Kaz and everything. Sorry, you and Sam. So it was all good stuff. Yeah, you two are interchangeable, Kaz and
We are.
Sam.
No, we're utterly I think people do get us confused sometimes. It's it's fine. Kind of come together as a team, don't we? So
Yeah, that was a great event, though. Yeah, have to do something like that again. Are you thinking of doing something like that in Leeds?
we are doing something like it in Leeds. It
Woo!
is on the 3rd of June next year,
Wow, excellent.
and
Good on you.
we have quite a good lineup. Um we've got as our headline, we've got Ellie and William Shaw and Leslie
Wow.
Thompson. We've got all sorts of other things going on. Plans for some author signings as well. So for some extra people that we might not have found a panel for, we might sneak them in to do a signing.
All right. Well, I'm always available.
You're not far away either.
No, no, not. It's not far at all, is it?
No. So
Never mind.
you write in 3 different names, don't you? So I've interviewed you as Caroline England. Obviously, you're being CE Rose tonight. Tell us about your other alter ego as well.
Well, the other one, I know Sam's read the 2 books. I did 2 books, and it's in a legal series, and it's about a feisty solicitor set in. Live in a village called Didsbury, and she lives in well, her office is in Didsbury, and I really enjoyed writing those, because obviously I was once a feisty solicitor. So it was nice because it all came and it took me back to the office days and whatnot. And she's called Natalie Batch. And, she gets into all sorts of scrapes and everything. But they were published a while back, but they just didn't take off. And the royalties were pretty rotten, because I think people think authors earn loads of money, but I think down this bottom end, you don't even go anywhere near a minimum wage with writing what you get from your royalties. So anyway, I've taken my rights back for those two books. They were called Convictions and Confessions. So I'm sort of putting them on the back burner for now, and I might go back to them, see if there's a publisher out there who'd like to republish, and then I could carry on writing the series, because I know Sam really enjoyed them and a lot of people did. I've got some good reviews, but I think for now 2 names is enough, because I'm sort of publishing 1 City Rose and 1 Caroline England a year, and I wouldn't have time to do anything else, new writing. But if anyone wants to publish the existing ones, come and knock on my door.
Sam would love it if there was an extra one of those. I know
Yeah.
she's desperate for a third at some point.
Yeah. Well, hopefully one day. Yeah.
She says they're the thing that got her into your writing, and she loves them.
Oh, excellent. Thanks, Sam. You're a star.
Mills has said hello, and she says she's going to have to investigate the book, isn't she? You are, Mills, especially if you like gothic fiction. Just show the cover
Yes.
up again so she knows what she's going to buy.
Yes.
Not that
Well,
we're encouraging Mills to go and buy things,
yeah.
but we are.
Mills, off you go now and buy The Shadows of Rutherford House. Yeah, if you like that sort of thing. Or if you like, I've got all my books here. So this was book number 10. So there's a lot to choose from between my 3 names. I suppose it's book number 8 from my Caroline England and my City Rose books. So there's lots to choose from. And they're all standalone. They're not a series, so you can go for any one of the books if you fancy something new. And I always love to hear from people. I love it when, I hear, even if people think, it's not for me, it's still interesting to get the feedback. As long as it's not too mean, obviously. I might cry.
Donna is not helping Mills's bank balance in the slightest, because she said hello, ladies, and then said yes, Mills, definitely go and buy it. It's amazing.
Well, has anyone noticed what my main character Christie's her surname is in the book? It's named after a certain Donna Morfitt.
Excellent.
She's called Christy Morfitt. So
very good. She says she needs little encouragement, and I'm usually a bad influence. I'm sorry, Mills.
I
love
Mills's name. That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mills Fixie. It's great.
And I think if you're encouraging people to buy books, are you really a bad influence?
No, it's very good. In fact, amazingly, I was in a place in Manchester, South Manchester, called Sale yesterday. I happened to go to Sale, and they actually have a bookshop there, and it's from some educational trust, and it has free books. And they just say, if you can afford to leave a donation, great, and if not, and it's what a wonderful thing to encourage people to read. So I was really impressed with that. So it is a good thing. Buying books is great for the author, but just reading them, spreading the love is great.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. Yeah, Donna's saying she can't believe that you wrote her into the book. Thank you.
She's a good one, isn't she, Donna? She's lovely.
She is a good one. And she's complimenting your hair as well.
I know. I keep looking, thinking, who is that person? I just thought I'd try a change, and my daughter got the curling wand out, so.
She's definitely not complimenting my hair. I look like I've been dragged through her head backwards if I'd untie mine. So it's definitely yours. Yeah, see, there you go. You're getting all the compliments for your hair. So, are you ever tempted to venture into doing a series?
Well, as I say, that the Natalie Batch ones, the Convictions and Confessions, that was the start of a series. And I feel as though I could have carried on with that. But having said that, I don't know if generally I like that constraint. I think I like wrapping up. I know all the fabulous authors, Mike Craven and Mark Billingham and all the people you have on, they write the same character. But they must. I know it's not just about the characters; it's about the case. So that makes it different. But I don't know if I'd want to stick with the same character all the time. But I know people love it, don't they? And if people love your book number one, they're going to buy your book number 23. So it's great, you know. If you've got a really good character, they're going to read, which I've done with, you know, Rebus or whoever. You just stick with them, don't you? But I don't know. I do like my standalones because I like to have that shape to it where you sort of finish it off, if you like. And I know you can do that in a series, can't you? Finish off the story, but not your protagonist.
But I think people who are sort of true bookworms find an author that they like, and it doesn't matter whether they write a series or standalones.
That's true. I'm like that. There are certain authors when a new book comes out, you think, well, I'm buying it, come what may, sort of
Yeah.
thing. Which is really, it's lovely, isn't it? But since I wrote, I haven't read nearly as much as I used to, just because you don't find as much time, which is a shame because I used to love going in like Waterstones or wherever and think, oh wow, you know, and it's on a 3 for 2. So then you'd buy an extra book and it'd be so exciting to buy books. So.
Do you also wonder about like do you not when you're writing, do you read like other crime things, or do you think that that would influence what you were writing, or
I think I tend really not to read that much when I'm writing. I love, you know, I read on holidays and stuff, but I'm sent a few, you know, like generally authors are, you sent a few books to quote if you enjoy it and whatnot. So that makes you read different things. So at the moment, I am, even though I'm doing this edit, I'm doing an edit at the moment. I'm reading Tina Baker's next book for next year, and I'm really enjoying it. But it's such a character study. It doesn't matter, you know. Some books you need to just read it in all one go, almost, don't you, to keep with the story and the intricacies of it and whatnot. But this is very much a character study, I feel. So it's really nice. I can read just a couple of chapters a night. So that's quite a nice way of doing it. Whereas I think a more book where you've really got to follow the plot, you need to a good old holiday where you're just there and you just read it all in one sitting. It's great.
I don't always read that much when I'm on holiday.
Oh, so you're the opposite. You have a break from reading on holiday.
Yeah, I mean I still read because I never don't, but I'm not a good I'm very bad at just sitting still and doing nothing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm
I'm
the
a bit
kind
like
of
that as well. Yeah.
like person who goes on holiday to explore places, not sit on the
Yeah.
like beach or
Yeah.
somewhere. Like can't do it.
Yeah.
Managed for about half an hour once.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, oh, Donna's saying there's definitely what she calls the just take my money authors. Yeah, I call them that as well. Shut up and take my money authors. The
What
ones
does
where you
that?
will you're not seeing that like it's Donna's calling Mills is calling them just take my money authors. I call them shut up and take my money authors. You know the ones that you were saying. Like there's certain authors who you follow that you just if there's gonna be a new Ellie Griffiths book, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, cause
Right.
she's not gonna write a bad book, is she? You know,
No.
you're gonna buy the next Caroline England because it's gonna be great.
Oh,
Like,
that's yeah. See, you're right. That's it.
yeah.
Just, just take. Yeah, it's good. I know. I've learned something new. Never heard of that before. So that's good.
You know? There's just but you know that there are those. You were saying that you have them as well. There's ones where
Yeah,
you walk into
definitely. Yeah.
Waterstones and you're like, "That
Yeah.
person's written a new book. It's going
Yeah.
home
I'm
with
having
me."
it. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
good.
like, it's just gonna be good.
Yeah, definitely.
They're the ones. So, I like to, while we're on that, ask people what they've read this year that they've really enjoyed.
Oh gosh, that's a difficult one. Well, as I say, I'm reading Tina Baker's one for next year at the moment. Forgot what it's called now, but I did enjoy her Nasty Little Cuts, and it's up there somewhere. And in fact, I liked it even better because it's got my name on the front of a hardback. I'll never get a hardback for myself, but it's got my name. In fact, I'll just get it because it says on it there, exquisitely dark, Caroline England. So that's as close as
Really?
I'll ever get to a hardback. So I'm taking this. This is my hardback, but I enjoyed it. I thought that was really good. Very intense and dark. And in fact, I read that was when I was on a holiday. Um, and what else have I read? This thing I have to look up there. Oh, Sundial by Catriona Ward. I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was so unusual. I don't know if anyone's read that. It just knocked me out because I had no idea where the story was going. But the writing was, sometimes that puts people off, isn't it? If they like, well, what is it? What is this book? Is it horror? Is it, psychological thriller? What's going on? But if it's written really compellingly, you just carry on. You want to get there and find out what's going on. And I really enjoyed that one. And what else have I read? Oh, I'm behind the times because, as I say, when I go on holiday, I read. So I read Dark Pines by Will Thingy.
Dean.
What's it? Sorry, Will Dean, that's the one. So obviously that was years ago, wasn't it? And I also read what's it called? I forgot what it's called now. Is it up there to remind me? Another one that I can't remember. But again, it was an old one that I thought I'd like to read. I can't think what else I read. It's a bad question. People have to fill me up. What are you people reading? Fill me in. Tell me.
Lots of people have said that they like Tina Baker. Can't wait for number 3.
I love the way
Donna
Donna said,
Christie.
"Mad as a box of frogs," and but she's so funny. She's like, she was great at Crime Fest when she dressed up and everything. I think she's such a good character. She's full of humor and everything, yet very intelligent and so good at her art and everything as well. So I like her very much.
Yeah, but definitely a character.
Yeah, Alex North. What his one about the Whisper Man? There, I've got it. Phew. So I read that one as well. I enjoyed that one. That was a really good. That was a real page turner. That one I found.
Oh, yeah, I've read that one.
Yeah, yeah. So I enjoyed that.
You
So
got there in the end.
yeah, no, God, I have read others, but I just can't. It's like what, I don't know. That's the bad thing about having different names as well. I don't know what I'm called and all that.
Laura Hamilton says she read Sundial and Pigeonhole. Agree, it was very weird. Definitely needed a bit of time to recover afterwards.
Yeah, Laura, I
Donna,
agree. It was,
um,
wasn't it food for thought when you were thinking about, oh my God, and I just love that. I'm a fan of food for thought books, which is why I try and do it myself. Whereas I think, for example, Truth Games, I finished that on a really dark note, and I think it was a lot of people have been like, "What?" Thinking about it afterwards, thinking, "Oh," and I liked it. I like torturing people like that.
and Donna's saying that she knows I'll say it, but lessons in chemistry.
Right? Yeah. Who wrote that then?
It's Bonnie Garmis. She is. I've literally recommended it to someone today, Donna. Um, it's a debut book. It is absolutely astounding,
Oh, good to hear. That's good to hear.
and I've not shut up about it for quite a while, and I think both Donna and Mills have bought it because I wouldn't
Brilliant.
stop talking about it.
That's so nice when you get someone who's enjoyed it and behind it and promoting it. That's lovely for the author. It's really great.
But yeah, so I recommended it to someone else today who was asking for Christmas present recommendations for someone. It's like buy lessons in chemistry.
Oh, excellent.
Um, but yeah, always good if you can give a good recommendation.
Oh, it is. It's really good. Yeah. So sometimes you get some books that are all the rage, aren't they? And everyone's reading it, and you read it and think, I think perhaps it's because you set up to think it's going to be so brilliant. Um, like the Crawdads, the whole world loved that book, and I didn't think it was bad, but I was just a bit disappointed because everyone else thought it was so amazing. So I was in the very, very tiny minority. So,
I
and
have
then there
not
was,
read it.
oh right, yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see what you think if you do, because it's so many people absolutely have adored it. Yeah, yeah. And I think Eleanor Oliphant was like that as well. Except I did like that. I really did enjoy that one. But a lot, I think it's so many people enjoyed it. A few people were like, What? You know, it's interesting, isn't it? How we all like different things."
But that's why I was thinking is really interesting about doing the author chats and just our group in general, is what people like. So I wouldn't put in the group something that I didn't like, but it's quite interesting to see people talking about books. And sometimes people will be like, "Oh my god, have you read this book?" And I'll be like, "I read it, but I wasn't that keen." But I wouldn't say it, but it's quite interesting to see people discuss it
Yeah, yeah,
and for you
it
to work
is.
out why
Yeah,
people liked it and you didn't. And then sometimes you can go back and look at it again with like a
yeah,
fresh
yeah,
pair of eyes.
yeah. Yeah, it is really interesting, and it just goes to show as well how we're all different, aren't we? Everyone likes different aspects, and different people like different. You know, some people like a really good plot. Some people like the characterization. Some people like a slower burn. Some people want a wham bam quick one. You know, do sort of thing they want. So it's we're all different, and sometimes you're surprised about maybe a different. You know, something you think you might not like that you do, etc. So yeah, it's good. All good stuff.
I quite like a slow burn in a book, which I think is why I particularly enjoyed The Sinner.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know it's sort of. I think we talked about this last time. Some people are like slow burn, and other people are like yes, slow burn. But I'm as I said last time, I'm really the same as I suppose all my books. I like to get in the characterization. I want you to know the characters first before I slap you around the chops. Yeah. So it's like my husband's lies as well. You know, it's building up all those characters, and I really love. I still do love all those characters. And because that was more suspense. I mean, it was classed as a psychological thriller, but I don't think it was because it's really about friendship. You know, isn't it funny what you get within the crime fiction umbrella?
Is Rutherford House, going back to this one,
Yeah.
because we got distracted, is it a real house? Have you based it on somewhere real?
Well, a sort of amalgamation. It was. I mean, I set it in Doncaster because I think there was a house that I'd sort of had in mind, which is now I think a museum. I can't remember what it's called, and that sort. I sort of thought, well, I'll put it in Doncaster, but then it's a certain type of house because I can't remember what it was called now. It was when it was built, it was copied by a certain Italian architect, so it had a sort of Italian architecture to it. But that's another house. I'd just be online going, oh yeah, I have a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of that. And it's got the two wings. So I was looking at old houses with two wings and whatnot. So yeah, so it's not really, it's like, you know, Frankenstein's monster again, which is what I always do. I steal bits from here, there, and everywhere, both for the setting and the characters. Um, but I did want to sort of do my internet research and look at stuff online and look at things, you know, inside houses and everything. So you get that genuine authenticity about it. Then, you know, all the old busts and the peeling velvet wallpaper, for example. You don't think they'd have such a thing as velvet wallpaper, but a lot of these old houses had velvet wallpaper. So yeah. So it's a nice mix. It keeps me busy on, you know, my internet history must be like, what? What's she doing now?
Cannot. Oh no. You said velvet wallpaper, but velvet sets my teeth on edge. I'm like, oh.
I know it's
I don't know who has said this. It just says Facebook user, but they have said that your book might be a slow burn to start with, but you know when it kicks off, it's going to be intense.
oh yes. Well, hopefully it is. I mean, yeah, that they all get pretty intense, yeah. And of course the clues are all there, you know. So if it's some people go back and they read it to the beginning, and then when they read it again, they go, oh yes, you know. So I am the clues as I'm feeding through as I go along, and hopefully in hindsight you're going, oh yeah, of course, yeah,
I know that's good, but I think because they are slower and you do get to know the characters, that's what makes the endings and those intense twists intense, isn't it?
yes,
Because
yeah, I
you've gone
think so.
along the journey with them and you've got really like involved with them. You like certain ones of them. You're going like, oh, I hope it's going to work out okay for
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then if
That's
something happens, you're like,
Yeah, that's what I hope, that you get to like the person and go on their journey. I mean, a few people have sort of said about my books in general that the characters, they are quite realistic and you feel you really know them. But I think that's the style of writing, isn't it? I'm quite, sometimes I do first person. I've more recently done more first person, but sometimes it's third person. But it's close third person, so you're very much in that person's head, so you know what they're thinking. Not everything, obviously, because there are some things you don't want the reader to know about, so you don't tell them everything. But it's that very fly on the wall, intimate type of writing that I quite like. So I can't help myself. I'm in people's heads all the time.
Donna says, which character did you have most fun writing?
Um, well, I think I did like, I liked Millie, and yeah, no, Imogen was quite good fun to write as well. So yeah, I quite like them all. I quite like Duncan as well. I mean, Duncan was, he starts in the 80s, and there are a few slightly steamy scenes, aren't there? I don't know if you've got to the steamy scenes yet, but well, maybe you haven't yet. So there is some steaminess. So I quite enjoyed that bit of steam. I like a bit of a passionate love affair in all my books. So yeah, enjoyed that. I shouldn't be saying this, should I? What am I doing?
When you because you're so interested in characters and things, are you a like a people watcher? Do you go out and sort of sit in places and go, "Oh, I'm going to steal a bit of you for my next story," or
I
hear
think
things
I
people
know
say
I'm a
and
bit.
sort of note it down?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a hermit actually. I think since the whole lockdown business and everything, going out of the house is like a huge thing these days. It's ridiculous. So I don't go out not like I used to. I sort of stay. So a lot of it is definitely in my head, just my imagination. But for example, I went to Crime Fest, and that was what, May was it? And I came back on the train with Libby Carpenter, Elizabeth Carpenter, who's a very good friend of mine. And so we sat on the train coming back to, because she lives sort of towards Preston and I was coming towards Manchester. And she just put on her headphones and just zoned out. Whereas I was just talking to these two ladies who were quite elderly ladies, but they were telling me some amazing things, just about their life and this and that and the other. So I did, when I got home that day, I made a note of a few of these things. And I did start, before I started the edit I'm on now, I'm doing a Caroline England edit at the moment. Before that, I started writing something new. And some of those elements of listening to the two ladies talk and tell me about their lives and everything, that's going to go into that book. So beware at your peril if you tell me a secret. It'll come out. But you can tell me, Kaz. Look, there's no one listening. Go on, tell me what your darkest secret.
My secrets. I think it's a relentlessly northern thing, that isn't it? Sitting on trains and talking to random people and
Well, it helps the journey go by. It's great. I love it. And especially these people who they're so interesting because they've had long lives and so much has gone on. And, it's just like, oh, wow. Yeah. So, yeah, it was good fun.
oh, it was Tina Baker who commented about your book, I think. She says you're reading Make Me Clean now.
Oh, yes, that's the one. Make Me Clean. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah. Yeah. She's excellent at characterization. And I love, because I think maybe she lives in London or something now, but I feel it has a real northern feel to it. I don't know, maybe it's a language or something, but I don't know. I feel she has that northern thing going. But yeah, very good.
I think there's a lot of really good northern crime fiction now. Like just a lot of sort of good writers kind of up around where you are. Um
And going
in
further up, yeah.
yeah, places like that. What do you think is like making that sort of scene now so good?
I don't know. It's funny, isn't it? Because it's certainly because there's Newcastle Noir, isn't there? I think that's
Mm.
due to go on in a couple of weeks or something, and there are loads of authors around that area. Um, Sort of maybe just at the border with Scotland, then down to Newcastle, Carlisle, and all that thing. I don't know what. I suppose they've always been there, but it's always been so London centric, hasn't it? Writing, and I suppose it still is. because that's the capital. It's always going to be, but that more seems to be going on up north, but I don't know whether it actually is or it's just yeah. It's all down to Mike Craven, I reckon. He's attracted everyone. But then, of
Um,
course, yeah, there's loads of Ian Rankin, obviously higher up. He's been there for a while, hasn't he?
can we just blame Mike Craven for everything? He's
Yeah,
not
I think we
watching,
should.
so
It's
let's
all his
blame him while
fault.
he's not watching. Yeah. I like your picture behind you with all your book covers in.
Yeah, I know. That's quite good. This is my hubby got me that one, and then there's one just to the side that yeah. So but we need now a picture of the latest, The Shadows of Rutherford House. That's not in anything yet. And in fact, my next CE Rose book is due out at the end of March, and they sent me a potential book cover for that. So that could go somewhere as well. But yeah, and it's same sort of theme going on, the sort of darkness in a house, the house theme going on, or house or hall or etc.
Are they all set in different locations? Because mine, Shadows of Rutherford House, is my first C.E. Rose book. It won't be my last one because I'm
Oh,
absolutely loving it. So we'll go back and read more because it is exactly the kind of book I would pick up and read by choice.
oh, great.
Um, as well, if that makes sense. That sounded worse than it meant to come
No,
out.
no, no, no. What you mean? I took it as a compliment.
It sounded like I was being forced to, but we read things for the author chats, and sometimes you read things that you wouldn't necessarily
Yes, yeah.
go out and buy, whereas I love kind of gothic fiction, so I was like, "Yay." When I was reading this is exactly what I want to read right now. Um, but yeah. They're all set in houses. Are they set, like, in different places? Are they all, like, northern houses? Are they
Yeah, so
all
the first one, which was the House of Hidden Secrets, that one is set in an old farmhouse, a big sprawling farmhouse in Cheshire, in a place called Goose Tree. And but because I wrote it sort of in lockdown times, again, and you couldn't go out. I couldn't just jolly down to Goose Tree in Cheshire. So again, it was all me stalking Rightmove and whatnot, and all these looking into different houses and everything. So yeah, so that is set in, as I say, a sprawling farmhouse with, like, a dilapidated barn, and it has a maze at the front of the house, and a long winding drive, and a gatekeeper's cottage. So it's a big posh old farmhouse, and so that's that one, yeah, and it's in Cheshire. So that's a bit sort of, it's closest to where I live, but it's not, and I've never been there. So I hope the good people of Goose Tree have forgiven me if I've got anything wrong. And then the next one was The House on the Water's Edge. And this one is, well, my protagonist, Ali, she lives in Manchester, but that doesn't come into it that much. And but her mum had come from Sheffield, which is where I came from. And then her mum moves to the Norfolk Broads. And right at the beginning of the book, it's no spoiler, her mum dies. So she travels to the Norfolk Broads, which is why it's the house on the water's edge. And the house in question is an old bungalow, but quite a sprawling big bungalow on the Norfolk Broads. And my protagonist, Ali, goes down to Norfolk to sort out her mother's affairs, and finds far more than she bargained for when she's down there. And again, there's lots of darkness and twists and turns, and that hint of gothic again. Um, yeah, so I like that one because this one as well was has quite a lot of me in it, really. Not least the fact that it includes, as part of the story, the love letters my mum and dad wrote to each other before they were married. So my dad was 22 and he got tuberculosis and he was in hospital, which is why they wrote. And then my mum was just going from 20 to 21, and in the love letters, he's completely smitten with her, and sort of saying, you could tell he just, and my dad's humour came off the page and all these things, and he obviously really adored her. And she was more circumspect, and she'd go, oh, cheerio, Mary. No, I'm saying it in a posh voice, they weren't posh. Anyway, but she was more circumspect. Anyway, the letters, I read them long after, obviously, they died. And a letter from my dad to my mum. It was quite a long letter. It was 4 or 5 pages, and one of the pages is missing. but the tone of the letter went really dark, to say he'd been writing her all these funny letters about how much he loves her and all the rest of it, and how curvaceous she was. And so I just, as part of the mystery in this, I created a mystery around their real love letters. So there's little extracts from it. It's not a main part of the story, but that's where the nugget came from, and I built up all that around these letters. So yeah, something different. So that was 3 different places, 3 different houses. One's a farmhouse, one's a bungalow, and one's a stately home, and all different places.
That's a really lovely story about the love letters as well.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's in it.
Mhm.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind, but they are. So the extracts in the novel are the genuine extracts, and of course, the real life mystery. I don't know what was really going on, and I'll never find out. So
So you've just made up your own answer.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that all that is very fictional.
So what can you tell us about the next kind of house book?
Well, the one that's coming out at the end of the March, it's called The Attic at Wilton Place. So Wilton Place is in Belgravia in London. So that gives you a sense of it's again another type of house. But in Belgravia they have those lovely, ginormous, really expensive mews houses, like a townhouse, and they're sort of 5 stories high, and they're where the very, very wealthy people in London live in Belgravia. And so it's called The Attic at Wilton Place. And again, it's a standalone, and this one's from one point of view, just one person, from her point of view, and I think it's in the 3rd person. So it's about her journey, and she starts quite young in the book, and she ends quite young in the book as well. And yeah, so it's all about her discovery, about, I suppose, partly about, it's a bit shoehorning the title into the story, but part of what she discovers is in an attic. So, but that's only a fraction of the story. So it's hard to describe, especially when it's sort of there. It's still in the editorial process, but I mean, obviously they've got a cover, and the edit's due in on this Friday, so I'm sort of having to remind myself what's it about. So, but
So
again, it's a gothic element.
do you work on one book at a time, sort of with the, because you were saying you've just been doing the edits for your next Caroline England book,
Yeah.
and then your new edits are due in on Friday. Does that mean you'd be working on 2 simultaneously, or would you work?
No, I mean, I think it's just because I've got a slot at the moment, because I know my next CE Rose edits are due on a Friday, as I say. And because I knew I'd got a week, I got the edits for my next Caroline England last Friday. So I thought, right, I'll make a start on it. But when I get my next CE Rose ones in, I'll just put that to one side. I can't work on both at the same time, if you like. And also the CE Rose one is out at the end of March, as I say, whereas the next Caroline England is probably late July, early August. So I've got more time to go back to that one. But as it happens, my lovely editor at Piatkus, she's going off on maternity leave, which is why it's landed now.
Yeah, just to
So yeah,
get
I
ahead of the
think
game.
that's probably all double Dutch, but anyway, you get the gist. Yeah, I can't do too much at once, because I think you have to get editing slightly different than when you're writing fresh, but you have to really get your head into your characters and think what they're thinking. And I go to bed at night and I'm thinking, what would they think? What would they do? So yeah, headspace thing
So going back to Mike Craven, who we're blaming for
for
things today,
everything.
everything, yeah,
Yeah.
currently.
Yeah,
He
I
says,
think he's responsible for Quality Street taking out some of the sweets and everything, some of the flavors. Bounty's gone in whichever one that is.
I
Yeah.
know that's a travesty. I love Bounty. I realise I'm in a small minority, but I love them.
I like a Bounty. Yeah.
Mm, they're excellent. Uh, yeah, so he says when he's sort of interviewed about a book, because he's written them so long ago, like he's often working on the next one or the next one after that, even in the series, that it's quite hard to remember the details
Yeah, yeah, it
of like
must
the one
be.
he's meant to be talking about.
Yeah. I remember Mark
Mhm.
Billingham, I once heard him saying how it's quite good because sometimes he can ask readers, you know, what was Thorne doing back in whatever. But yeah, you have to be ever so careful because I think even in a standalone book, if you've left it alone for a while and come back to it, you do forget stuff and something you've said earlier in the book, and um or especially like the edit I was doing today. um I had a minor character being Swedish, and then I realised I had a Swedish lady in The Sinner. So I thought, oh, I'll make her German. And then later on, I said something about Scandinavian. So I have to now put what? Germanic? I don't know what the word is. But yeah, so you have to just, like when you change names and things, or you can't remember what minor characters, what you've called them, and you're going through and go, oh, where is it? And you can't do a search because you don't know what you're searching for, if you know what I mean.
Did you find the same problem? So, like, when we're interviewing you and I'm asking you kind of what this book is about or what this character has done, do you find it hard to remember because you're kind of currently in your head about the one that you're working on now?
Yeah, yeah, to an extent. Although the thing is, because the Shadows of Rutherford House, because that only came out what, a week and a half ago, and obviously I'm at the stage where I'm desperately reading all the reviews, wanting people to say nice things. So I'm sort of reminded from the reviews, and I think the reviewers and the bloggers are brilliant because, like Dan. It's like writing a novel, shaping it, and Donna, it's shaping those brilliant reviews and writing, because it's like school, isn't it? Where you have to do a précis of something. I used to hate doing those, where you'd read a whole thing and then you'd have to put it in a few paragraphs. So I'm full of admiration for people who write book reviews. So yeah, and it also is reminding me what the book's about. Thank you, guys.
There you go. Look, the other use of the book reviews.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it. Yeah.
you read your book reviews because a lot of authors don't choose not to read them, don't they? Do you
Well, I
do you read
suppose
yours?
I'm not that well known, so I don't get that many. Because I'm sure if you're a bestseller, you get so many you start. But I do to begin with, and then if I get any bad reviews, I think right, that's it. I'm not reading anymore now. I'm fed up. So, but you can. It's quite good, isn't it? Because like on Goodreads, you can filter out, and on Amazon, filter out and just read the good ones. If you need a boost, just go to all the 4 and 5 star ones. And yes, yes, that's me. But obviously, sometimes the 1 star ones can be quite funny. But sometimes people are just plain mean. And you just think, why? That's so weird. But anyway, it happens, doesn't it? Keyboard warriors.
I'm on it. If you can't say something nice about it, don't say it.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, there's no. I can understand that. If you've bought something from Amazon and it doesn't work, you bought a lady shave and it doesn't do any lady shaving, you'd be really annoyed, wouldn't you, if you've paid whatever for it? So you can go, but this didn't work, sort of thing. But I think when it comes to a book, because it's already written, isn't it? So in a way, there's no point. It's a shame you can't get that feedback earlier, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I'm with you. If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it. Yeah.
I feel like that's proper northern advice, isn't it?
There
Oh,
is, isn't
something
it?
like my
Yeah.
grandma used to say or something. Like,
Yeah.
if you can't say nothing good, don't say it. Feels like a kind of grandma saying.
It does a bit, doesn't it? I know.
What else have you been,
Uh,
because you've been really busy recently, haven't you, pushing sort of going out and talking about the Shadows of Rutherford House. Where have
yeah,
you
yeah. Yeah, I've been, well, I try. I'm not convinced it makes any difference, but yeah, I went to a Waterstones in Huddersfield, and that was really nice and accosted people, but in a nice way. I didn't accost anyone who did. It's interesting, when people come in because you can sort of gather who's trying to not look at you, and it's like, go away, don't speak to me. But it's a lot of people. I think they almost want you to just. They're embarrassed to come up without you at least giving them. It's like dating. You've got to sort of give them the eye of it, like show you're interested. And so yeah, I dated a few people in Waterstones in Huddersfield, And obviously, I did that book event on Saturday. Oh, and I did a ladies' luncheon in Matlock. That was really nice. I thought, I'd like this would be great work if you could get it. I don't even know how come they invited me, but it was a lovely ladies' lunch, and it's a room full of ladies. And I got a lunch, a really really tasty meal, and then I did my the talk, and then I got lots of people coming up and chatting to me. So it was lovely, really nice in Matlock.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, I don't know what else I've done, but I do, I try to sort of, it's so hard, the promotion, it's really really tough, but you can only try your best. And I'm on the basis that nothing ventured. If you just keep trying, then one day it might just catch on and might go up the charts. You never know. Instead of those arrows down, because authors, you have
Oh,
an author
no way.
page, and the arrows go up or down, and it's always down, down. Get those arrows up. That's what I say.
That's our mission. We're gonna try and help you get your arrows
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
going
the
up.
only way is up. Yeah.
Uh, oh, Laura said Stephen Cavanagh and Luca Veste had a section in the podcast they used to do on the weirdest one-star reviews.
Oh yeah, I bet that's fun. Yeah, yeah. I've got a few good ones, like one of them for My Husband's Lies. Someone said it was a massive depravity or something, and I thought, oh, I like that. I write depraved books. So I thought that was quite a good one. And Beneath the Skin, someone said, this book is so bad, I burnt it after reading. So I thought, oh well, okay, that's all right. Feel very strongly about that.
Wow.
So
And then Donna said she looks at ear defenders, and someone said in a review they blocked out the noise of his wife, so good for his ears and his sanity.
that's funny. No, is it all right? Wow, goodness. And Donna's saying as well that Mark and Chris did a panel on it at Bloody Scotland. I bet that was really good fun. Yeah. And also it makes sort of there's my daughter lives in a place called Altrincham, and there's they've turned the markets into like a cafe, these sort of cafe things where there's all different flavors of food and whatnot. And they've posted all their rubbishy reviews. They like have a wall of shame with all the bad reviews on it. So I think they've sort of made it into something they've framed them all. So I thought I might do that. Have a whole, instead of those, have a whole wall of bad reviews. No, I'm going to stick with the good reviews.
Yeah, do stick with those.
Yeah.
And keep those amazing pictures behind you because they're great.
Yeah, no, they are good. Yeah.
We've got 2 minutes left. Show off.
Ooh.
Get people buying books. Tell people where to go and buy them. Can they buy a signed copy from you? Is that a thing that they can do?
I think yeah, no, that's a bit tricky because I don't get, because you see Rose books, you don't get you only get a couple of author copies. So it all gets a bit convoluted. But so, for example, if you wanted to buy The Shadows of Rutherford House, you can go in any bookshop and just order it. And it is in a few Waterstones up north. It's in a few Waterstones, and it's in my local bookshop in Didsbury, if you happen to be in the Manchester area. And obviously, it's on Amazon, and it's on Bookshop.org, and it's on, if you want the ebook, it's on Kobo, and again Amazon again, and I think and you can get it on Apple Books. So it's in all your usual places really. And I think people just don't realise that if they fancy a book, you can go in a WH Smith and order it, even if it's not on display. So any bookshop, big or little, you can always order books in, and yeah, and demand that they stock it.
Donna says if she sees you at Newcastle Noir, can she buy one?
Oh yeah, I'd love to go to Newcastle Noir. I was invited a few years ago, but I haven't sadly been invited since. So yeah, I know it'd be lovely, but I'm not. In fact, as it happens, I'm away that weekend. So it's my birthday weekend. So I don't. What would I have done had I been invited? Well, I'd have gone. But anyway, yeah, next time.
All the best Carolines have their birthdays in December.
Oh, you another December one as well.
Mm.
Oh, what date are you?
Beginning.
All right. I'm 2 weeks before Christmas. So apparently I was due on Christmas Day and I came 2 weeks early. So
I was due in January.
oh gosh, you did come early then. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Wow.
about 3 weeks early, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's the only thing about December though is when you're little and people go, "Oh, I'll buy you a present at Christmas," type of thing. But I
Well,
like it. I love being a December Christmas
yeah,
girl. It all makes December really, really exciting. Yeah.
it does, it's brilliant. So did you show us off the Shadows of Rutherford House again?
Yeah, yeah. It's called The Shadows of Rutherford House. And there it
Woohoo!
is. Yeah, it's a nice cover, pretty cover. So,
For everyone to go and buy. And then we're at the end of our time.
oh well, thank you so much. It always flies, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for
massively.
inviting me again. You're really great.
You are more than welcome.
Oh,
Come back
thank you.
anytime.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all you guys who asked questions and whatnot and tuned in. Thank you.